Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Mystics MMOs. I'm your host, Mr. Graven. All right, so I'm going to be doing randoms here in a little bit, but I wanted to do something. I like to shake things up in my streams and propose the questions, get people thinking, because I recently came back to ESO. I've been here now 3.5 months back since February. This is when I came back, early February. And so, February, March, April, May. Yeah, about 3 months. And almost, somewhere around there. But anyways, I want to go over something in this stream. Because since I came back, I've always asked myself, why don't people catch on to certain things? Why does certain things get overlooked? Why? We can easily, compare apples to apples when we take a look at Huntings versus Julianus, right? One's for Sam, one's for Mag, but it correlates. The stats do. But when we take a look at, character sheet statting, everything differs due to passives between the two armor sets. It's kind of interesting. How we have to have penetrating values and how these correspond in build application. But one of the things about the DK, and I think we would all agree. Oh snap! I didn't want to actually slot it, but whatever. Is the burning spell weave, right? This is a trademark set for Mag DKs. Right? Now, I'll be redoing my build. Of course, I'll be using Burning Spell Weave. I don't use Burning Spell Weave on anything but a DK. I remember at one time, everybody said this was BIS, and we had sorcerers walking around with the lowest uptime on Burning Spell Weave in the history of the game. It was actually hilarious as hell to watch sorcerers take Burning Spell Weave as BIS, but I assure you, if you look at the videos, they're out there. The reason why I never utilize Burning Spell Weave on any other class, me personally, is because when you deal damage with a flame damage ability, meaning the more flame damage you have, the more consistent the uptime. Right? It's consistent. The less burning spells you have, the worse the uptime. And guess who has the most abilities that based on flame damage? The DK. Hands down, no other class has as many. So I want, guess what, 100% uptime, and I get it because there's a cooldown. But let's take a look at it, right? Magicka, spell damage, critical. When you deal damage with the flame damage ability, you apply the burning status effect to the enemy and increase spell damage by 461 for 8 seconds. This effect, this is very important, can only occur once every 12 seconds. Now look at the duration here. We get an 8-second buff with a 4-second downtime. Okay? Very important that I'm pointing this out. Very important. Now, when it comes to the Stam DK, I was thinking about, a couple different options for a build. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to scrap that whole idea. And I'm going to go with Briarheart for my Stam DK. But why? But why? Well, we just said for... No, I haven't put it together, but I'm grabbing sets and stuff. But we just said what Burning Spell Weave does, right? What it does. You get an 8-second buff, and it can occur every 12 seconds. You get a 4-second downtime, and it increases your spell damage. It's a great set. Great set on a Mag DK. I think, finally a lot of people kind of realize it's not so BIS. Swear to God. You will catch people doing the most craziest things in this game. I assure you. You know, uptime and application of uptime is just completely oblivious to some people. But whatever. But so Briarheart, let's talk about this set. Now I just grabbing pieces. Adds critical, adds stamina. Now we don't get weapon damage. We get another critical stat. When you deal critical damage, you increase your weapon damage. Once again, weapon damage, spell damage, for 10 seconds, not 8. While this is active, your critical strikes heal you. Yeah, a little bit. This effect can occur every 15 seconds. So we get a 2-second longer duration, but a 1-second longer downtime. But it's just, now see, I'm a Khajiit on my DK. So I have to build critical because I get in my passives for my racial bonus my critical damage by 12%. And I like that, but I have to go critical. So I have to put Leviathan and I'm going to use Briarheart because that damage multiplier is going to replace the lack of weapon damage, but I'll be using a proc set to what? Scale my weapon damage further. But a lot of people in PvE have never considered the application. They've just said, oh, well, yeah, you use Burning Spell Weave on DKs. Well, why aren't we typically using that same logic and then applying it with a set that's comparable? Why aren't we doing that? Well, it comes back to statting, because once again, people would say, well, you need penetration. Well, I need penetration no matter what. But if I can scale weapon damage over 6.5, I'll need a little less as I scale higher. So I can use trait or Mundus in its substitution. And that's why we always talk about marginal substitutions on this channel. So I just find it very interesting that sometimes we overlook the obvious, right? We overlook obvious applications. And what do? We instead of actually building appropriately to the race and the class, we look for BIS or take out the I, and then we just have BS. Yeah, because a lot of it's bullshit. I'm sorry. Clear my throat. Did I say bullshit? I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. My allergies are acting up. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Now, it's kind of important that I'm doing this as well, because I'm going to proc like we would with if you're going to be using, for example, like I like to keep Burning Spell Weave static due to the critical value. But with this build, I'm going to go with the Maelstrom daggers. Now, I might make 2 alterations of my mag DK to appease the people who are like, and I'll do that for those individuals. But, I mean, whatever. It does, the crushing staff does add to the light damage. Sure. But I'm aware if I'm on the 1 bar, I'm losing a critical stat and my DPS can be affected, and that affects scaling. Well, but whatever, because my staff doesn't have a critical rating. But whatever. If you want to be nitpicking, I do, but whatever. So, but this is important because I haven't found a build that implements this on a Stam DK. And this is crazy because when you deal damage with Flurry, your single target damage over time abilities used within 4 seconds gain 1631 spell and weapon damage. Now I was going to use the Master Bow, but then I was like, you know what? No, I'll use that as a proc. So I'll proc up more weapon damage. I'll scale it up. and then I'll just use the daggers. Right? We'll stack up the critical value. We'll be good. Right? We'll use Leviathan. We'll use Briarheart. We'll use the daggers. And then, of course, the Dom to scale higher. So, yeah. I just feel like a lot of times we overlook obvious comparisons sometimes. Because, like I said, once again, I'm a Khajiit. So I want to take advantage of that critical modifier. But at the same time, I have to sacrifice somewhere. Now, would I use this application had he been an orc? Probably not. Why? He's a different race. Yes, he would have been a DK, but my scaling system would be different and my dependency on my modifier would adjust accordingly. So my application has to change based on parameters. So, but yeah, I just think it's kind of interesting. You know, we talk about, you know, burning spell weave. Yeah, burning spell weave, burning spell weave. And I was like, you know, why do people overlook Briarheart? Why? Why? Why are we overlooking the daggers on a DK too? That, or, you know, that, it's not the daggers, but Maelstrom perfected dagger. The perfect cruel set. Why are we overlooking it? The DK doesn't have a class spammable. So it makes sense to me to utilize what? My weapon spammable. And given the fact that I'm utilizing dots and single target dots, I've got, you know, with the two dual wield, I'll be getting rend, right? I don't have it unlocked, but I'll be getting rend, and then I have on top of it my venomous claw, and then I'll have poison injector from the bow once it's applied. Now, given Briarheart, oh, I can get it now. Oh, nice. Given that I'm also going to have Briarheart, that's going to allow me to do what? I can put caltrops on. I can use Endless Hail. I can use whatever duration I want to. So why? Because I'm utilizing these abilities in accordance. But I just think it's interesting. I just find it to be, you know, I want to ask you, I want you guys to think. I like content creators who think outside the box, and I appreciate the content creators that keep to fundamentals when it comes to application to a stat sheet, because these are strong principles, foundations, right? What the minimal we need to have, where we have to scale from, and how scaling is affected. And once somebody has at least that fundamental down, everything else just kind of falls into place as they're making adjustments accordingly. So I always tell people, man, kind of dig around a little bit when you're looking for builds, or you're looking to you know, maybe spark an idea. Because there's a lot of content creators out there who really found something a little more unique that is viable. And I like promoting the underdogs and promoting multiples on this channel. Why? Because everybody can bump into something that somebody has maybe overlooked. And once again, if we get into a static system to say, oh, well, this is the only way, or that's the only way, it becomes boring, monotonous. And then when something pops up that catches people's eyes, everybody, it just shakes the entire, you know, player base. Oh my God. And that's why I encourage people, poke around, look around. Like, one thing I always have to do before I come out with any build is put the sets into a search, look for videos to make sure I'm not taking somebody's build. That's so important to me. Now, Burning Spell Weave I've used for whatever, and I imagine mothers on a Burning Spell Weave is pretty standard these days. Except I'm making slight alterations on my build. Why? Because of my race and what I'm lacking. And I'll be going over that in my build. So certain things do become standard, like healer sets and healer configurations. I just kind of give it a nice little twist to make it a little bit more comfortable for players. So, like I always tell people, like, you know, I'm going to address my build always slightly different, if not completely unique. But if it's similar to most people's builds because it has become a standard or, whatever, I'll give you guys my alterations and why I made those adjustments. But poke around and ask yourself, if this is accepted, then why is this neglected? Food for thought. All right, I'm going to let you guys go. As always, I'm Mr. Craven. This is Mystics MMOs. Have a nice day.